Caitlin Clark absolutely destroyed the Atlanta Dream, as I knew she would. The GOAT, the MVP, put on a show and embarrassed Angel Reese, as she always does, because Angel Reese can't tie Caitlin Clark's shoelaces if her life depended on it. Caitlin Clark posted her 23rd career game with at least 25 points and 5 assists Sunday, now 5th most in W.
Something just happened
in Atlanta. Something happened that almost nobody expected. Caitlin Clark did more than simply get the better of Angel Reese. She delivered the kind of moment that left Reese completely exposed on her own home floor, with members of her family sitting in the building watching every second. One frozen moment, one reaction that cameras were ready to capture, and suddenly the atmosphere inside the arena changed completely. What had already been one of basketball's most talked about rivalries seemed to enter a completely different chapter, because once a moment like this happens, there is no taking it back. We have seen plenty between Clark and Reese before, but this felt different, and you are going to want to see exactly how the entire thing unfolded.
Right, I think Ryan Howard airballs a shot to win the game late. It lands in Angel Reese's lap, and collectively the whole world said, yeah, she ain't making that. Collectively, the whole world said, oh, Angel Reese has it? Oh, and it's a layup? Yeah, she's breaking that. And lo and behold, point blank range to win the game, we get a classic Angel Reese pray-up and a brick.
The Indiana Fever arrived in Atlanta on that Sunday night in August, looking increasingly like a team that had learned how to survive the pressure of a crowded playoff race. They were no longer playing like a group overwhelmed by every close finish or hostile road crowd. Instead, they carried themselves like a team beginning to understand exactly what these late-season games demanded. What unfolded over the next few hours became the kind of matchup people will keep pulling up whenever the conversation turns back to the never-ending spectacle surrounding Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. This was supposed to be another chapter in their rivalry, but by the end of the night, the story had taken a direction very few people inside the building wanted to see.
The best part about all of this, the best part about all of this, and I mean all of this, is as this happens, Caitlin's laughing at her. Caitlin is laughing at Angel Reese missing the open layup. This is my favorite WNBA picture of the season. Is Caitlin Clark just laughing at Angel Reese.
Clark finished with 26 points and 9 assists as Indiana battled its way to a 95-91 overtime victory, and buried inside all the tension, momentum swings, and noise was one sequence that completely changed how the night would be remembered. Reese had an opportunity that could have ended the game before overtime was ever necessary. It was the type of chance players dream about getting in front of their home fans, especially with the game sitting right there waiting to be taken. Instead, the opportunity disappeared, and what could have been a game-winning moment turned into the kind of painful miss that makes everyone close to a player shift awkwardly in their seats because there is simply nothing anyone can say.
KK continue to play like this? I feel like we all knew KK had it in her. She just had to find her grit. And that is exactly what KK did today. KK showed up in overtime and pivotal moments. KK kept the fight within itself throughout this game, and I cannot tell you I'm happy enough. Kelsey Mitchell, 19.
From the opening tip, there was no chance this game was going to feel ordinary. Clark immediately played with the confidence of someone who believed she could manufacture offense from almost any situation the defense presented. She drove into traffic, pulled defenders toward her, fired passes toward shooters on the perimeter, and constantly forced Atlanta to adjust whenever the ball reached her hands. Every possession seemed to make the Dream choose between sending extra attention toward Clark or leaving someone else open, and Clark repeatedly took advantage of that hesitation. It became clear early that Indiana's offense would revolve around her ability to read what was happening before the defense could fully react.
In the third quarter, we saw Caitlin Clark take it to the rack. When she takes it to the rack, I don't think defenders are prepared for how quick Caitlin Clark is. I don't think defenders are prepared for how quick and how easy she can get to the rim. They're just not prepared for it. She does it pretty effortlessly, and she finishes at a high clip as well. I've said it. I've been beating the drum. Caitlin Clark this season has showed that she is an elite.
Reese, meanwhile, spent the opening portions of the game trying to establish herself physically around the rim and dominate the rebounding battle the way she so often does. But the finishing simply wasn't there. Attempts she normally expects to convert kept catching iron, and by the end of the night she was only 5 of 16 from the field. That shooting line already looks rough by itself, but it becomes even more uncomfortable when television cameras repeatedly cut toward the stands, where members of your own family are watching everything unfold and doing their best to stay supportive. Clark kept creating opportunities for everyone around her, eventually recording 9 assists, and each easy basket she generated felt like another reminder that she was controlling the direction of the game, while Reese was spending more and more possessions trying to recover.
Angel Reese played dirty as usual. She's turning into DJ Currington 2.0. Blatantly smacks Kelsey Mitchell in the face. Might have to make a whole nother damn video about that alone, bruh. But let's check out the box score here. Michaela Timpson, 33 minutes, 20 points, 9 of 13 from the field, 7 rebounds, 2 of 4 from free throw land. Aaliyah Boston, 37 minutes played, 18 points, 14 rebounds. Caitlin Clark, need I even say no more.
Atlanta controlled stretches of the first half, with Alicia Gray scoring from different areas of the floor, and the Dream bench feeding off a home crowd that still fully believed Atlanta would eventually finish the job. Reese remained relentless on the glass, and ended the game with 14 rebounds while also recording 6 assists, numbers that appear strong when viewed on a stat sheet. The problem was how many valuable possessions were wasted when open opportunities near the rim failed to fall. Clark never responded by rushing or trying to force herself into the game. Instead, she stayed patient, allowed possessions to develop, and continued dissecting Atlanta's defense with accurate passes that repeatedly left defenders reacting one step too late. By the third quarter, Indiana had begun finding a comfortable rhythm, and Clark's control of the pace made Reese's earlier bursts of physical energy feel less like dominance and more like effort that wasn't producing enough separation.
The Atlanta Dream just failed. The Atlanta Dream just got made a fool of by the Indiana Fever in an overtime game. Might I add, it shouldn't have been an overtime game because they had 3 chances to make the game end right then and there. The game should have concluded in the 4th and final quarter. First of all, we had Ryan Howard attempt a 3, brick. Angel Reese attempts a layup. She got the rebound after Ryan Howard bricked that 3 in the 4th and final quarter. It was 81 points to 81.
Then everything reached another level in the 4th quarter. All the tension that had accumulated throughout the night finally started spilling into every possession. The score remained close, the Atlanta crowd continued roaring, and every trip down the floor carried the added pressure of what the result could mean in the playoff picture. Reese continued fighting for offensive rebounds, but the finishing touch she desperately needed seemed to disappear at the worst possible time. She received several opportunities to either push Atlanta ahead or keep the Dream even, only for the ball to bounce away again and again as frustration spread throughout the arena. Clark was affecting the game in an entirely different way. She didn't need to shoot every possession because her 9 assists came from continuously reading the floor, recognizing when Atlanta overloaded toward her, and immediately finding whichever teammate had been left free. Indiana's young front court contributed important minutes too, but Clark's composure was what prevented the Fever from unraveling inside a loud road environment. Then came the closing seconds of regulation. With the score tied at 81, Atlanta had possession, and Reese suddenly found herself with a putback chance that looked almost impossible to miss. The rebound dropped directly into an ideal area. There was very little resistance between her and the basket, and for one brief moment the entire building appeared ready to explode because the winning basket seemed inevitable. But it didn't fall. The ball rolled away from the rim, and the arena dropped into the kind of stunned silence that only arrives when a player misses the exact shot everyone in the building expected her to make.
There are 3 things that's guaranteed in life: death, taxes, and Angel Reese missing crucial layups. And my goodness, she missed it at a perfect time. Thank you, Angel Reese, because now Fever can move up in the standings because of you. You blew it for your Dream. And also, man, Kelsey Mitchell, you were pissing me off a little.
Clark was close enough to watch the entire sequence develop, and what made her response so memorable was how little she actually did. There was no wild celebration, no dramatic taunting, and no need for some huge gesture. Her expression carried a quiet sense of satisfaction that arguably made the moment sting even more. Reese remained underneath the basket processing what had just happened, while Clark had already mentally moved toward overtime. Somewhere in those stands, the relatives who had arrived hoping to watch Reese deliver a signature home victory suddenly had a moment they probably wished they could erase. Once overtime began, Indiana seized control quickly. Clark continued directing the offense and delivered from the free throw line when the Fever needed points, and the difference between her 26.9 assist performance and Reese's difficult shooting night became impossible to ignore. Indiana moved to 23-12 with the victory and stayed firmly positioned in the fight for home court advantage, while Atlanta dropped to 21-13, knowing a very winnable game had slipped through its hands inside its own arena.
Caitlin Clark was just on fire on her. Look at this back and forth, give and go. KK getting smart. I think Caitlin knows something that we don't know about KK. She's been so confident in giving KK that ball. She's been leveling KK game up. She's been leveling up, man. KK about to get that paper. Another entry pass to Aaliyah Boston cooking up. Man, this game was crazy. This game was crazy, man. Aaliyah Boston going to work, dumps it all. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Caitlin throwing it to the corner. Ty was still on fire coming in this game.
The setting made everything feel even heavier because this happened in Atlanta, in front of many of the people who know Reese better than almost anyone else. Families travel to watch these games, sit together wearing team colors, celebrate every basket, and experience every miss almost as intensely as the players themselves. Clark never needed to talk trash or produce some exaggerated reaction to make the moment bigger. Her play did that for her. In the situations that mattered most, she controlled the matchup, and the result left both the home crowd and Reese's relatives confronting the uncomfortable reality that the visiting star had dictated the story of the night. Their rivalry has already created more than enough memorable moments, but this one carried a different edge because nobody had to manufacture the embarrassment. It developed naturally through missed finishes, Clark's efficient creation for teammates, and the late-game composure that separates players who want the spotlight from players who know how to handle it when it arrives. Reese's rebounding and passing numbers remained respectable, but shooting 5 of 16 and missing that decisive opportunity at the end of regulation transformed what could have become one of her biggest home performances into a night remembered for completely different reasons. Cameras captured enough reactions for the sequence to spread well beyond the arena, and knowing her family was there only gave the story another layer Atlanta would probably rather forget.
Sherrod with Reese leaking out, finds her, and Reese hits the layup.
Y'all, this is why people are watching women's basketball. It's because of this. Remember, that's what she said. This is why. It's not just because of one person. It's because of her too. It's because of her missing wide open layups like this. It's because of her missing 2-3 times underneath the basket. Meanwhile, you got Caitlin Clark draining 3 after 3 from the damn near parking lot while being defended by 2 people. But this is why.
Indiana's 4-game winning streak suddenly looked even stronger considering the level of competition the Fever had been dealing with. And the steady presence throughout that run continued to be Clark. She had produced multiple games with at least 20 points while continuing to impact winning in areas far beyond simple scoring totals. Reese is still one of the league's most physically powerful forwards and remains an elite rebounder capable of taking control whenever her finishing is working. But games like this expose where a difference can still appear once the score tightens and every possession carries more weight. Clark entered Atlanta, managed the tempo, created open shots for teammates, scored when Indiana needed her to, and walked away with a victory that felt bigger than an ordinary result. Reese left her own floor with a double-double that will probably appear much more impressive in a box score than it felt while watching the game happen live. The people who arrived hoping to celebrate her performance walked away carrying emotions completely different from what they expected. That is exactly what fuels rivalries, the nights when one star rises under pressure while another is forced to search for answers, with the people closest to them watching every uncomfortable second. This chapter will stay part of the conversation long after the season because there was no dramatic confrontation required. One player simply delivered more when the game demanded it, and she did so under the brightest possible spotlight.
Angel Reese grabs a rebound from Ryan Howard's brick. She tries to throw up a layup. Brick. Nas Hillman rebounds Angel Reese's brick layup. She tries to throw up a layup. Brick. This is clown behavior. They was up 10 points in the beginning of the third quarter. In the third quarter, I believe the score says 62-72. Fever had 62 points to the Atlanta Dream 72 points. They blew it. Blew a 10-point lead. Doing clownery. Just clownish activities.
The scoreboard eventually showed Indiana winning 95-91 after overtime. But once everything was finished, the gap between the two performances felt wider than 4 points. Clark's night became another example of why she continues occupying the center of so many discussions about where the league is right now and where it may be heading. Reese's evening showed the opposite side of high-level competition. Even gifted players can experience games where nothing seems willing to cooperate. Those family seats that were filled with optimism before tip-off carried a noticeably different feeling once people began heading toward the exits. And that emotional shift may remain more memorable than any individual number from the box score. Basketball at this level offers very little forgiveness, and on this Sunday it was especially cruel to the player who had a chance to end the game in regulation, only to watch that opportunity disappear while her biggest rival stood only a few feet away. The statistics will remain in the records, and the clips will continue circulating, but the most lasting image is Reese underneath the basket after the miss, while Clark already appears ready for what comes next. Those are the kinds of sequences that influence how seasons are remembered and how rivalries develop, and this particular moment belonged to the player who refused to allow the pressure surrounding the game to become larger than her preparation.
Caitlin Clark, the only player in WNBA history to average 26 and 9 assists over a 10-game span. Ever. Ever. In the history of ever. Let's get to the game. It went to overtime, 95-91. Michaela Timpson, 20 points on 9 of 13. 7 rebounds, 1 block shot. Caitlin Clark, 26 on 9.
Indiana left Atlanta, carrying a difficult but valuable win, and another sign that the Fever's development was becoming legitimate. Clark left with another impressive statistical performance, and the satisfaction of having managed a game many people expected to descend into far more chaos. Reese left with a night she would probably prefer to forget, while the family members who had arrived ready to celebrate with her instead went home carrying a memory that might linger for quite a while. Rivalries are created through exchanges exactly like these, when talent, timing, pressure, and composure crash together in ways nobody can completely predict before the ball is tipped. This latest meeting provided every piece of that formula. With the season quickly moving toward its most important stretch, performances like this become both measuring sticks and warnings. Clark continues demonstrating what dependable excellence can look like when pressure increases, while Reese still flashes the physical dominance that makes her one of the league's most compelling players, even on nights when the game refuses to unfold the way she wants.
She bricks an open layup for game, and Caitlin's laughing. Like that is poetic justice. That is what we want to see. That's what everyone wants to see here. You have Caitlin effing Clark, the best guard to ever play in the WNBA. Peak for peak, best point guard, sorry. Peak for peak. I'm not putting her ahead of Peak Tarasi. We're not doing that yet. We're not doing that yet. But peak for peak, the best point guard.
Anyone who has followed every chapter between these two stars received another unforgettable addition to their shared history, complete with the type of late-game tension that keeps people arguing and replaying clips long after the final buzzer. The Atlanta crowd witnessed everything in person. The players experienced every momentum swing on the court, and the rest of the league saw a result that subtly but meaningfully affected the standings. What ultimately separated the performances was Clark's ability to remain composed regardless of how violently the game swung back and forth. The noise from the crowd didn't appear to bother her. The physical play didn't knock her away from what she wanted to do, and the personal history surrounding every meeting with Reese never seemed to pull her out of rhythm. She kept executing, continued locating teammates, and stayed prepared for the possessions that eventually decided the game. Reese competed relentlessly for rebounds and tried to drag Atlanta across the finish line, but the finishing touch that has powered so many of her strongest performances disappeared exactly when she needed it most. Put those two realities together and the overtime result somehow felt both unexpected and inevitable at the same time. Those are the nights that transform regular season games into stories people remember, and this one delivered everywhere that matters.